Have you ever looked around at everyone else and thought, am I just completely broken? Like you're somehow stuck playing a complex game where everyone else got the rule book and you're just totally lost? Well, if you've ever felt entirely out of place in this world, you're absolutely going to want to pay close attention to this explainer. Today, we're diving into Alyce Dylan's completely eye-opening book, Alone in a Sea of Normal, to answer that exact question. We're going to unpack a framework that just might reframe your entire life, helping you figure out if you're actually a broken normal person or if you're something else entirely, someone who is highly spiritually perceptive.
So let's just put the core struggle right on the table here. Do you constantly feel overwhelmed by everyday life? Are you just operating on a totally different frequency than everyone else? For a lot of folks, the default assumption, the one society kind of beats into us, is that we're just broken. We literally think, well, I must have missed the instruction manual for being a normal human. But Dylan's work proposes a radically different, honestly game-changing perspective. What if you aren't broken at all? What if you're actually just highly spiritually perceptive?
Think about this for a second. It's like being the one single blue umbrella in an absolute endless sea of white ones. That perfectly captures this vivid, heavy sensation of being fundamentally different from the crowd. You can be completely surrounded by people in a packed room and yet feel entirely, utterly alone.
All right, let's jump into section 1, the broken normal illusion. You know that feeling of just surviving? Living in survival mode, constantly retreating and faking a persona to fit in is just an incredibly exhausting way to exist. The author calls this chameleoning, shifting your colors just to blend in with the crowd so you don't stand out. As a result, you end up feeling entirely unseen by your peers. You might literally look at what motivates other people and feel completely baffled. It's this constant wear and tear process that leaves sensitive individuals totally drained just from the sheer act of making it through a Tuesday.
So, take a deep breath, push aside all that past rejection and hurt for just a second, and really ask yourself this paradigm-shifting question. What if there is absolutely nothing wrong with you? The author strongly urges us to stop taking the blame for feeling overwhelmed. Actually, consider this. What if your intense reactions are a sign of heightened capability rather than a fundamental flaw?
Dylan hits the nail on the head here. She says that once you grasp this new understanding of the world, you will finally understand why people don't seem to see the real you. It's a hugely comforting revelation because it validates your pain and proves that understanding why the world feels so abrasive is completely within your reach.
Moving on to section 2, 5 senses versus 6.
Okay, so instead of being broken, imagine you're a super advanced radio. You are constantly receiving a massive stream of information on 6 different bandwidths, while everyone else around you is only tuned into 5. According to the text, a sixth-sense human naturally processes energetic data and emotions. You don't just walk into a room and see and hear it, you feel it. You feel the whole shebang. The source notes that the number of these individuals, sometimes called indigo children or empathic adults, has grown exponentially. The catch? Mainstream society hasn't adjusted to accommodate us at all.
So let's look at this side by side because it perfectly explains the friction. A 5-sensed reality relies on a strict see it to believe it approach, right? If they can't touch it or hear it, it literally doesn't exist to them. They act on surface data and remain totally oblivious to the undercurrents. But the 6th-sensed reality, it is vastly different. These folks feel the unsaid emotions. They read subtle energetic shifts. They're deeply, deeply impacted by truth and injustice. Because of this massive gap in how the world is processed, the author argues that true mutual understanding between these two groups is incredibly rare.
Let's ground this in a real-world scenario. Picture a big social or religious gathering. The 5-sense person is sitting there, listening to the speaker's words and just happily accepting the surface-level message. They're having a grand old time. Meanwhile, the 6th-sense person is internally screaming. They are feeling the room's messy energy and getting physically drained by the unspoken hypocrisy or inauthenticity that the 5-sense person doesn't even register. Makes sense.
Which brings us to section 3, signs of spiritual perception. Let's see if this sounds like you.
So how do you actually know for sure which category you fall into? Well, if you experience these signs, you are absolutely a 6th-sensed individual. Do you have a visceral, literally physical reaction to injustice? Do you get full-body goosebumps when real truth is spoken? A huge one mentioned in the text is just knowing deeply when people are lying to you, even if you don't have the immediate facts to prove it yet. And then there's this fascinating paradox, craving deep, soul-level connection with others, but simultaneously needing profound, total isolation just to recharge your batteries. Now you might be wondering, if there are so many of us, where is everyone hiding? The truth is, they are everywhere. They're just self-isolating because the incoming data is way too much to bear. The text points out that many 6th-sensed individuals become what the author brilliantly calls porcupines.
They build these massive, high emotional walls to keep their distance, retreating from social settings, and just curling up with a book because the five-sensed world is just too incredibly loud and chaotic to navigate 24/7.
Let's dive into Section 4, the cost of hiding.
There's this crucial concept called eudaimonic resonance. Don't let the big word intimidate you. It basically just means the natural flow of life that's trying to make things whole, better, and happy. When we block our sixth-sensed receptors, when we clamp down on our intuition just to try and fit in with the normal crowd, we actually cut ourselves off from this resonance. We create this deep internal pain because we are actively resisting our own natural drive toward wholeness.
And when you're taking in all that data without a framework to understand it, it leads to 24/7 energetic saturation. Your mind is simply flooded. It's too much. The source points out that this extreme overwhelm is exactly why so many sensitive folks turn to intense solitary hobbies, emotional withdrawal, or even self-medicating. They're literally just trying to numb themselves to drown out a world that feels completely abrasive.
Finally, Section 5, Reclaiming Your Authentic Self. This is where the magic happens.
Taking your life back requires a few bold steps. Step 1. You have to start with the incredibly freeing act of forgiving the five-sensed world for not understanding you. You have to realize they literally do not possess the sensory receptors you do. They can't help it. Step 2. Stop filtering your authentic self just to make those people comfortable. And Step 3. Allow this higher intuitive sense to actually guide your decisions instead of fighting it at every single turn.
Think back to that radio analogy. By consciously tuning into your own frequency, rather than fighting it, you become a clear, powerful receiver for the peaceful life you actually deserve. You have to establish a perimeter of safety, create some boundaries, and then consciously allow yourself to receive data on your own specific bandwidth. Tune in, don't tune out.
The goal here isn't to fix an aberration. The author is super clear on this. There is absolutely nothing to fix about being sixth-sensed. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. Your wings are quite literally right there. You don't have to force anything or jump off a building to prove your worth. It's simply about surrendering to your existence and accepting that you're experiencing life on a much more expansive level.
This right here is the ultimate mantra you should take away from this explainer. I am a sixth-sensed human living in a five-sense world, and it's going to be all right. Just repeating this understanding to yourself can drastically reduce the pain of misunderstood expectations. You can finally stop expecting five-sensed individuals to process the world the way you do, and you can finally find some real peace in your own identity.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Now that you know you aren't just a broken normal person, but actually a highly spiritually perceptive one, what extraordinary things will you do with your sixth sense? Instead of hiding your true self, how will you use this superpower to amplify joy and maybe even change the world? I hope this explainer helps you confidently navigate your own sea of normal.